think the future is really bright because I think the demand's there, and I think we can create amazing communities, and that's more than just creating homes for over 50s. I think we create communities.
Look, it's absolutely got a place, and I think it's got a place in opening up affordability. I'm trying to work out how can we actually create thriving communities for people who are below median or people who don't bring an asset to the table. As a retirement village operator, we've increasingly been forced into more and more premium, but actually as a mission-based organisation, there's a whole group of the community that I just don't feel we're looking after. And so I'm intrigued by how do we use Land Lease as a way of creating product that actually builds community and care for the people who don't bring an asset to the table.
Look, I think it's a good model because I think that there are people that want to live in communities when they age. There's other people that want to live in communities. But if we think about just the aged care sector, the Land Lease community model is a better model than the old retirement village model, which has the deferred management fee and is very highly regulated. At the moment, I think the customer gets a better proposition from Land Lease.
I think that the Land Lease business model has a really strong future because there's such a core component of people, particularly retirees, that might not have the means to buy into a traditional retirement village product. So Westpac as a bank is a really big supporter of this sector. We see that there's good capital interest from other investors as well, and that there's a really strong demand for the product, not just in regional areas, but moving more into metro areas where land can be sourced.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and we certainly see in some areas we just can't compete with resi developers for land, and we're seeing as a business that we are starting to, I guess, follow the migration north, and we're moving into sites in tropical North Queensland, so areas like Cairns and Mackay, and we're looking at bits of land there because we're seeing that's where it's more affordable, that's where we can get in these rural areas, and we think the customer is following from an affordability sense as well.
No, I don't think so, because I don't think lifestyle communities will be just for affordable product. I think it's already developed into a sector that has very affluent customers. There are houses valued at over $1 million, selling for over $1 million. That is competitive relative to every other form of real estate. So, but if the question is really about affordability, there is a land cost issue. There's a total cost issue. Including the cost of building houses, which is more expensive than the traditional residential house.
Oh, I mean, absolutely in metro areas, and it's really constrained by the construction parameters around what you can build in this space, where you can't go high-rise yet in land lease communities. So that's going to be a really big inhibitor around the Sydney Basin and the Brisbane Basin, which is why the product's been so concentrated in regional areas.
I think there has to be a role for not-for-profits. I believe that for too long we've simply been at the whim of government. Government says jump, the not-for-profits have said how high, and so we've essentially just become outsourced government service providers. And so when we say, oh, there's a terrible affordability crisis, particularly for vulnerable people, government, we need more money so that we can do things to serve vulnerable people. I think the interesting thing about land lease and rental is there actually a commercial model? If you're willing to accept effectively a not-for-profit return, is there a commercial model that enables us to open up new housing opportunities for vulnerable people where government plays, I think they probably still need to play a role, zoning, land availability, rental assistance, etc., but where government is not essentially being the full funder of that, which gives us much more freedom to do what we want to do and to do it much faster than the speed of government. So, long answer, yes.
Yeah, maybe not. I think there's a role for government in subsidising rents. I think there's a bigger role for government in subsidising dwellings, not just land rent. So we tend to believe that there's more of a future in rental communities, whole houses rather than just land lease communities where only the land is rented out.
I think the entry of not-for-profits will be a really interesting one because retirement villages, which are still reasonably dominated by the not-for-profit sector, have traditionally been a more affordable product. But we're seeing in the metro areas in particular, it's moved to quite a premium product because of the cost of construction and land. But there's still a really big, large component of the market that don't have the means to buy into a traditional retirement village. So looking for those housing options and how those people, particularly single older people, people who don't have a house to sell, looking at alternative accommodation, Land Lease has a big place to play there.
Yeah, I think so. I think we do a lot of work as a sector to really understand our customer and what their intent is in the community long term. And we're fortunate as a business to have our care side that really works with residents because we have the aged rental business, so we understand the customer long term.
I think there's a real challenge in getting that care model right. And so some of the land lease providers, if it's an average entry age of 71, in 10 years' time, they're going to have clinical governance and nurses and regulations and home care and you name it. They're going to have to find a way of doing that.
What we're trying to crack is a model for mixed communities of younger people and older people. I think the problem with a land lease community or a retirement village with older customers is that there has to be a transition to aged care. There's no solution for aged care in Australia that's affordable.
Well, I think that's where the home care sector has such a big role to play. So we're already seeing that in other alternative accommodation products. There are going to be challenges for operators, particularly where you have residents with dementia living in these villages. But at the end of the day, the delivery of those services will be coming from accredited home care providers for the main part.